Shalom, 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 everybody. I'm back, baby. I'm back. Welcome back to Reading with Shilo. It's Shilo. And we are back to pick up where we left off on chapter 8 through 11 of Ancient Book of Jasher. So far, it's getting pretty good, man. A lot of stuff going on. The Lord destroyed the earth in the flood. And Noah and his people survived. Noah and his family survived in the ark, man. It say that the ark was being tossed to and fro, where the animals were being turned around like pottage in a cauldron. It was getting turned around like somebody was cooking a gravy in a black pot. Like a good black pot gravy. But hey, it is what it is. Man, he even said that 700,000 men and women was knocking at the door of the ark trying to get in that thing. But I don't want to be one of them 700,000. I want to be one of the people on the ark. Woo-woo. But we're going to try to get into it today. Try to start reading early in the daytime, since my connection be bad at night. Bad connection at night. All right. Well, let's get it, man. The ancient book of Jasher, as referenced in Joshua 10 and 13, 2 Samuel 1 and 18, and 2 Timothy 3 and 8. Now, you don't know that, man. I don't know if this is the real book of Jasher that the Bible talk about, but, you know, I got it. I want to read it, and we're going to see what it's talking about. We're going to see if there's anything that we can learn and grow from in these books, man. Bring it here. Bring it here for you. Come on. What can you learn and grow from? And one of the main things, as in the Bible, is those that kept the Lord's commandments are the ones that fared the best. They fared the best. And the ones that didn't keep God's commandments, God killed them. Yeah, he killed them. God killed those that didn't keep his commandments, the ones that transgressed and trespassed against him, the ones that kindled his anger. So we're going to get into chapter 8. We're on Nimrod, King Nimrod. King Nimrod. No, not Durod, Nimrod. All right, chapter 8. The wise men of Nimrod. Chapter 8. The wise men of Nimrod. And it was in the night that Abram was born, that all the servants of Terah and all the wise men of Nimrod, what's up, Crystal? And his conjurers came and ate and drank in the house of Terah, and they rejoiced with him on that night. And when all the wise men and conjurers went out from the house of Terah, they lifted up their eyes toward heaven that night to look at the stars. And they saw, and behold, one very large star came from the east and ran in the heavens, and he swallowed up the 4 stars from the 4 sides of the heavens. And all the wise men of the kings and his conjurers were astonished at the sight. And the sages understood this matter, and they knew its import. I think he's trying to say importance. And they said to each other, this only betokens the child that has been born to Terah this night, who will grow up and be fruitful and multiply and possess all the earth, he and his children forever, and he and his seed will slay great kings and inherit their lands. And the wise men and conjurers went home that night. And in the morning, all these wise men and conjurers rose up early and assembled in an appointed house. And they spoke and said to each other, Behold, the sight that we saw last night is hidden from the king. It has not been made known to him. And should this thing get known to the king in the latter days, he will say to us, Why have you concealed this matter from me? And then we shall all suffer death. Therefore, now let us go and tell the king the sight which we saw, and the interpretation thereof, and we shall then remain clear. And they did so. And they all went to the king and bowed down to him to the ground. And they said, May the king live. May the king live. We heard that a son was born to Terah, the son of Nahar, the prince of the host of thy host. And we yesternight came to his house, and we ate and drank and rejoiced with him that night. And when thy servants went out from the house of Terah to go to our respective homes to abide there for the night, we lifted up our eyes to heaven, and we saw a great star coming from the east. And the same star ran with great speed and swallowed up 4 great stars from the 4 sides of the heavens. And thy servants were astonished at the sight which we saw. And we're greatly terrified. And we made our judgment upon the sight, and knew by our wisdom the proper interpretation thereof, that this thing applies to the child that is born to Terah, who will grow up and multiply greatly, and become powerful, and kill all the kings of the earth, and inherit all their lands, he and his seeds forever. And now, our Lord and King, behold, we have truly acquainted thee with what we have seen concerning this child. If it seemeth good to the king to give his father value for this child, we will slay him before he shall grow up and increase in the land, and his evil increase against us, that we and our children perish through his evil. And the king heard their words, and they seemed good in his sight. And he sent and called for Terah, and Terah came before the king. And the king said to Terah, I have been told that a son was yesternight born to thee, and after this manner was observed in the heavens at his birth. And now, therefore, give me the child, that we may slay him before his evil springs up against us, and I will give thee for his value thy house full of silver and gold. And Terah answered the king and said to him, My lord and king, I have heard thy words, and thy servant shall do all that this king desireth. But my lord and king, I will tell thee what happened to me yesternight, that I may see what advice the king will give his servant. And then I will answer the king upon what he has just spoken. And the king said, Speak. And Terah said to the king, Ion, son of Mored, came to me yesternight, saying, Give unto me the great and beautiful horse that the king gave thee, and I will give thee silver and gold, and straw, and provender for its value. And I said to him, Wait till I see the king concerning what thy words. And behold, whatever the king saith, that will I do. And now, my lord and king, behold, I have made this thing known to thee, and the advice which my king will give unto his servant, I will follow. And the king heard the words of Terah, and his anger was kindled, and he considered him in the light of a fool. And the king answered Terah, and he said to him, Art thou so silly, ignorant, and deficient in understanding to do this thing? To give thy beautiful horse for silver and gold, or even for straw and provender? Art thou so short of silver and gold that thou shouldest do this thing, because thou canst not obtain straw and provender to feed thy horse? And what is silver and gold to thee, or straw and provender, that thou should? What is that? What is this which thou didst say unto me, saying, give thy son that we may slay him, and I will give thee silver and gold for his value? What shall I do with silver and gold after the death of my son? Who shall inherit me? Surely then at my death the silver and gold will return to my king who gave it. And when the king heard the words of Terah and the parable which he brought concerning the king, it grieved him greatly, and he was vexed at this thing, and his anger burned within him. And Terah saw that the anger of the king was kindled against him. And he answered the king, saying, all that I have is in the king's power. Whatever the king desireth to do to his servant, that let him do. Yea, even my son, he is in the king's power, without value in exchange, he and his two brothers that are older than he. And the king said to Terah, no, but I will purchase thy younger son for a price. Oh, yes, he did. Terah did give the best comeback. But if those things happened to Terah, it was the will of the Lord that he give the king the question so the king can answer before he gave his answer. My bad, I lost my place. All that I have is in the king's power. Whatever the king desireth, whatever the king desireth to do to his servant, that let him do. Yea, even my son, he is the king's power. He is in the king's power, without value in exchange, he and his two brothers that are older than he. And the king said to Terah, no, but I will purchase thy younger son for a price. And Terah answered the king, saying, I beseech thee, my lord and king, to let thy servant speak a word before thee, and let the king hear the word of his servant. And Terah let the king hear the word of his servant. And Terah said, let my king give me 3 days' time till I consider this matter within myself, and consult with my family concerning the words of my king. And he pressed the king greatly to agree to this. And the king hearkened to Terah, and he did so, and he gave him 3 days' time. And Terah went out from the king's presence, and he came home to his family and spoke to them all the words of the king. And the people were greatly afraid. And it was in the 3rd day that the king sent to Terah, saying, send me thy son for a price, as I spoke to thee. And shouldest not thou do this, I will send and slay all thou hast in thy house, so that thou shalt not even have a dog remaining. And Terah hastened, as the thing was urgent from the king. And he took a child from one of his servants, which his handmaid had borne to him that day. And Terah brought the child to the king and received value for him. Ooh. He pulled it sounds like when Jacob got the blessing. It sounds like when Jacob got the blessing to me. And the Lord was with Terah in this matter, that Nimrod might not cause Abram's death. And the king took the child from Terah, and with all his might dashed his head to the ground, for he thought it had been Abram. And this was concealed from him from that day. And it was forgotten by the king, as it was the will of providence not to suffer Abram's death. And Terah took Abram his son secretly together with his mother and nurse, and he concealed them in a cave, and he brought them their provisions monthly. And the Lord was with Abram in the cave, and he grew up, And Abram was in the cave 10 years, and the king and his princes, soothsayers and sages, thought that the king had killed Abram. Chapter 9, Abram and the Tower of Babel. And Haran, the son of Terah, Abram's oldest brother, took a wife in those days. 1955 AM, Haran married. Haran was 39 years old when he took her, and the wife of Haran conceived and bare a son, and they called his name Lot. That's Haran. Haran conceived and bare a son, and he called his name Lot. 1958 AM, Sarah born. And she conceived again and bare a daughter, and she called her name Milcah. And she again conceived and bare a daughter, and she called her name Sarai. Haran was 42 years old when he begat Sarai, which was in the 10th year, or Sarah, in the 10th year of the life of Abram. And in those days, Abram and his mother and nurse went out from the cave, as the king and his subjects had forgotten the affair of Abram. And when Abram came out from the cave, he went to Noah and his son Shem, and he remained with them to learn the instructions of the Lord and his ways. And no man knew where Abram was. And Abram served Noah and Shem, his son, for a long time. 1988 AM, Tower of Babel. Hold on, give me just a second. Give me just a second. All right. All right, my bad. And Abram was in Noah's house 39 years. And Abram knew the Lord from 3 years old, and he went in the ways of the Lord until the day of his death, as Noah and his son Shem had taught him. And all the sons of the earth in those days greatly transgressed against the Lord. Greatly transgressed against the Lord. My bad. And they rebelled against him, and they served other gods. And they forgot the Lord who had created them in the earth, and the inhabitants of the earth made unto themselves at that time every man his god, gods of wood and stone, which could neither speak, hear, nor deliver. And the sons of men served them, and they became their gods. And the king and all his servants and Terah went off with all his household, were then the first of those that served gods of wood and stone. And Terah had 12 gods of large size, made of wood and stone, after the 12 months of the year. And he served each one monthly. And every month Terah would bring his meat offering and drink offering to his gods. Thus did Terah all the days. And all that generation were wicked in the sight of the Lord. And they thus made every man his god. But they forsook the Lord who had created them. And there was not a man found in those days in the whole earth who knew the Lord, for they served each man his own God, except Noah and his household, and all those who were under his counsel knew the Lord in those days. And Abram, son of Terah, was waxing great in those days in the house of Noah, and no man knew it, and the Lord was with him. And the Lord gave Abram an understanding heart, and he knew all the works of that generation were vain, and that all their gods were vain and were of no avail. And Abram saw the sun shining upon the earth, and Abram said unto himself, Surely now this sun that shines upon the earth is God, and him will I serve. And Abram served the sun in that day, and he prayed to him. And when evening came, the sun set as usual. And Abram said within himself, Surely this cannot be God. And Abram still continued to speak within himself. Who is he who made the heavens and the earth? Who created upon earth? Where is he? And night darkened over him, and he lifted up his eyes towards the west, north, south, and east. And he saw that the sun had vanished from the earth, and the day became dark. And Abram saw the stars and moon before him, and he said, Surely that this is the God who created the whole earth as well as man. And behold, these his servants are gods around him. And Abram served the moon and prayed to it all that night. And in the morning, when it was light and the sun shone upon the earth as usual, Abram saw all the things that the Lord God had made upon earth. And Abram said unto himself, Surely these are not gods that made the earth and all mankind, but these are the servants of God. And Abram remained in the house of Noah, and there knew the Lord and his ways. And he served the Lord all the days of his life. And all that generation forgot the Lord, and served other gods of wood and stone, and rebelled all their days. And King Nimrod reigned securely, and all the earth was under his control. And all the earth was of one tongue, and words of union. And all the princes of Nimrod and his great men took counsel together, Phut, Mizraim, Cush, and Canaan with their families. And they said to each other, Come, let us build ourselves a city, and in it a strong tower, and its top reaching heaven, and we will make ourselves famed, so that we may reign upon the whole world, in order that the evil of our enemies may cease from us, that we may reign mightily over them, and that we may not become scattered over the earth on account of their ways, of their wars. And they all went before the king, and they told the king these words. And the king agreed with them in this affair, and he did so. That's correct, Nicole. That is correct. And all the families assembled, consisting of about 600,000 men. And they went to seek an extensive piece of ground to build the city and the tower. And they sought in the whole earth, and they found none like one valley at the east of the land of Shinar, about 2 days' walk. And they journeyed there, and they dwelt there. And they began to make bricks and burn fires to build the city and the tower that they had imagined to complete. And the building of the tower was unto them a transgression and a sin, and they began to build it. And whilst they were building against the Lord God of heaven, they imagined in their hearts to war against him and to ascend into heaven. And all these people and all the families divided themselves in three parts. The first said, We will ascend into heaven and fight against him. The second said, We will ascend into heaven and place our own gods there and serve them. And the third part said, We will ascend to heaven and smite him with bows and spears. And God knew all their works and all their evil thoughts. And he saw the city and the tower which they were building. And when they were building, they built themselves a great city and a very high and strong tower. And on account of its height, the mortar and the bricks did not reach the builders in their ascent to it, until those who went up had completed a full year has date in brackets. I don't know what that means. And after that, they reached to the builders and gave them the mortar and the bricks. Thus was it done daily. And behold, these ascended and others descended the whole day. And if a brick should fall from their hands and got broken, they would all weep over it. And if a man fell and died, none of them would look at him. And the Lord knew their thoughts. And it came to pass, when they were building, they cast the arrows towards the heavens, and all the arrows fell upon them, filled with blood. And when they saw them, they said to each other, surely we have slain all those that are in heaven. For this was from the Lord in order to cause them to err, and in order to destroy them from off the face of the ground. And they built the tower and the city, and they did this thing daily until many days and years were elapsed. And God said unto the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near to him, saying, come, let us descend and confuse their tongues, that one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them. And from that day following, they forgot each man his neighbor's tongue. And they could not understand to speak in one tongue. And when the builder took from the hands of his neighbor lime or stone, which he did not order, the builder would cast it away and throw it upon his neighbor, that he would die. And they did so many days, and they killed many of them in this manner. And the Lord smote the 3 divisions that were there, and he punished them according to their works and design. Those who said, we will ascend to heaven and serve our gods, became like apes and elephants, black and white colored. And those who said, we will smite the heavens with arrows, the Lord killed them, one man through the hand of his neighbor. And the 3rd division of those who said, we will ascend to heaven and fight against him. And the Lord scattered them throughout the earth. And those who were left amongst them were, when they knew and understood the evil which was coming upon them, they forsook the building, and they also came scattered upon the face of the whole earth. And they ceased building the city and the tower. Therefore, he called that place Babel, for there the Lord confounded the language of the whole earth. Behold, it was at the east of the land of Shinar. And as to the tower which the sons of men built, the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up 1/3 part thereof. And a fire also descended from heaven and burned another 1/3. And the other 1/3 is left to this day. And it is of the part which was aloft. Go put it on the counter, son. Good job. And its circumference is 3 days' walk. Ooh. And many of the sons of men died in that tower, and people without number. Man. Chapter 10, the descendants of Noah. All right. I'm gonna keep reading chapter 10, but I'm gonna have to stop at 11 because I got some business that needs to be handled. So I'll stop at 11. 11 is long anyway. Chapter 10, the descendants of Noah. 1996 a.m. Peleg died. And Peleg, the son of Eber, died in those days, in the 48th year of the life of Abram, son of Terah, and all the days of Peleg were 239 years. And when the Lord had scattered the sons of men on account of their sin at the tower, behold, they spread forth into many divisions, and all the sons of men were dispersed into the 4 corners of the earth. And all the families became each according to its language, its land, and its city. And the sons of men built many cities according to their families in all the places where they went, and throughout the earth where the Lord had scattered them. And some of them built cities in places from which they were afterward extirpated. What does it mean? Extirpated. 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 Let's see. It's not in this one. Oopsie. Let's see if it's in this one. Extirpate. To destroy completely, to pull up by the root. And some of them built cities in places from which they were afterward pulled up by the root, completely destroyed completely, wiped out, cut out by surgery, extirpated. And they call these cities after their own names, or the names of their children, or after their particular occurrences. And the sons of Japheth, the sons of Noah, went and built themselves cities in the places where they were scattered. And they called all their cities after their names. And the sons of Japheth were divided upon the face of the earth into many divisions and languages. And these are the sons of Japheth, according to their families: Gomer, Magog, Medea, Medii, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tyrus. These are the children of Japheth according to their generations. And the children of Gomer according to their cities were the Frankum, who dwell in the land of Franza, by the river Franza, by the river Sinai. And the children of Rephath are the Bartanim, who dwell in the land of Bartonia, by the river Ladah, which empties its waters into the great sea Gihon, that is Oceanus. That is Oceanus. And the children of Togarmah are 10 families, and these are the names: Bezor, Parzunik, Balgar, Elikinum, Ragbib, Tarki, Bid, Zabuk, Ongul, and Tilamaz. All these spread and rested in the north and built themselves cities. And they called their cities after their own names. Those are they who abide by the rivers Hiltha, Hithla, and Italic unto this day. Italic unto this day. But the families of Angoli, Balgar, and Parzunik, they dwell by the great river Dubni. And the names of their cities are also according to their own names. And the children of Javan are the Javanim, who dwell in the land of Macedonia. And the children of Madari are the Oralim, and that dwell in the land of Kerson. And the children of Tubal are those that dwell in the land of Tuscana by the river Pashur. Yeah, Pashur. And the children of Mishak are the Shebishni, and the children of Tyrus are Rashish, Kashni, Kushni, and Ongolis. All these went and built themselves cities. Those are the cities that are situate by the sea of Jabus, by the river Kura, which empties into the river Traden. And the children of Elisha are the Almunim, and they also went and built themselves cities. These are the cities situate between the mountains of Job and Shabbathma, or Shabbathmo. And of them were the people of Lombardy, who dwell opposite the mountains of Job and Shabbathmo, and they conquered the land of Italia, and remained there until this day. And the children of Chittim are the Roman, who dwell in the valley of Canopia, by the river Tibru. And the children of the Benim are those who dwell in the cities of the sea Gihon, in the land of Bordna. These are the families of the children of Japheth, according to their cities and language. When they were scattered after the tower, and they called their cities after their names and occurrences. And these are the names of all their cities according to their families, which they built in those days after the tower. And the children of Ham and Cush were Cush, Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan, according to their generations and cities. All these went and built themselves cities as they found fit places for them. And they called their cities after the names of their fathers, Cush, Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan. And the children of Mizraim are Ludim, Anamim, Lehabim, Nephtukim, Pathrazim, Caslakim, and Caphtorim, 7 families. All these dwell by the river Sihar. That is the brook of Egypt. And they built themselves cities, and they called them after their own names. And the children of Pathros and Kaslach intermarried together. And from them went forth the Pelishtim and Azathim and the Jerorim and Gotham and the Ephraim. In all 5 families, these also built themselves cities, and they called their cities after their names of their fathers unto this day. And the children of Canaan also built themselves cities, and they called their cities after their names, 11 cities and others without number. And 4 men from the family of Ham went to the land of the plain. These are the names of the 4 men: Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim. And these men built themselves 4 cities in the land of the plain, and they called the names of their cities after their own names. And they and their children and all belonging to them dwelt in those cities. And they were fruitful and multiplied greatly and dwelt peaceably. And Sire, the son of Hur, son of Hivi, son of Canaan, went and found a valley opposite of Mount Paran. And he built a city there. And he and his 7 sons and his household dwelt there. And he called the city which he built Seir, according to his name. That is the land of Seir unto this day. These are the families and the children of Ham, according to their languages and cities, when they were scattered to their countries after the tower. And some of the children of Shem, son of Noah, father of all the children of Eber, also went and built themselves cities in the places wherein they were scattered. And they called their cities after their names. And the sons of Shem were Elam, Asher, Arpaxad, Lud, and Aram. And they built themselves cities and called them the names of all their cities after their names. And Asher, the son of Shem, and his children and household went forth at that time, a very large body of them. And they went to the distant land that they found, that they met with a very extensive valley in the land that they went to. And they built themselves 4 cities, and they called them after their own names and occurrences. And these are the names of the cities which the children of Asher built: Nineveh, Rezin, Kalach, and Rehoboth. And the children of Asher dwell there unto this day. And the children of Aram also went and built themselves a city, and they called the name of that city Uz, after their eldest brother, and they dwell therein. That is the land of Uz to this day. 1998 AM, the city of Bela founded. And in the 2nd year after the Tower of Man from the house of Asher, whose name was Bela, went from the land of Nineveh to sojourn with his household wherever he could find a place. And they came until opposite the cities of the plain against Sodom, and they dwelt there. And the man rose up and built there a small city, and called its name Bela, after his name. That is the land of Zoar until this day. And these are the families of the children of Shem, according to their language and cities, after they were scattered upon the earth after the tower. And every kingdom, city, and family of the families of the children of Noah built themselves many cities after this. And they established governments in all their cities in order to be regulated by their orders. So did all the families of the children of Noah forever. And we are going to stop there. We're going to stop there. That was the end of chapter 10. Chapter 11 is called Nimrod's Wicked Reign. And we'll come back tomorrow and pick that up. We'll come back tomorrow and pick that up, man. So I'd like to thank everybody who stuck with me to read. I wish I could go further, but I got some important business that I got to handle. So I'm going to have to call it a day. But until then, man, shalom, shalom. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, whatever time anybody else come back and watch these. And keep pushing, keep pushing. Think on the things that you can learn and grow from what was read. What can you apply to your household, in this time? This time is no different from the time when they was angering the Lord by corrupting him with the evil that they was doing. It's the same stuff happening today. Make sure that you are not the ones doing evil, so you don't find the same fate as those did when they were trying to bust into the ark, and get in the ark with Noah, or anybody else that, died because of the evil and wickedness that they were doing. So with that, shalom, shalom out, and I'll see y'all next time.